Hi,
Hey, good afternoon.
how's it going?
It's going well. And you?
Good, good. Nice to speak to you.
Oh, it's nice to speak to you as well. I think I was in the wrong Zoom room.
Oh, I thought probably your Zoom room, but I need to record it, so.
There's no problem at all.
Okay, good. I need to edit the recording. So I only use audio, and the purpose of my podcast is to let people know that we can go through hard things and I guess have resilience, and not have to suffer as much as we normally
Hmm.
do. And I think you're the perfect guest for that.
It's amazing. Yeah. So we haven't started, right?
No, but I
Okay.
just hit record while I'm remembering.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, I mean, what is it just going to be a free flow of kind of
It's
a
just a,
stream of consciousness here? You're going to ask some questions
I'll
or,
ask questions and it's just like we're sitting over coffee having a conversation. I'm going to get to learn about you and why you do what you do.
oh, amazing. Cool.
Yeah. And it usually lasts, I don't know how long. Do you have a certain time limit?
Nah, no, I have a meeting, I think at 4. Other than that, we're good.
Okay. Yeah. It usually lasts anywhere from 20 minutes to 60, but it just depends on the flow. And it's no indication whether it's good or bad. Um, And I start off with you introducing yourself, and then I just ask a question and it goes from there. So whenever you're ready, I'm ready for you.
How would you like me to introduce myself? I think that's a
Your
really
name,
good question.
your name, and whatever you want to say. And, I'm open to whatever you have to say.
Well,
Oh,
I,
no,
I
yeah,
I love the openness. That's great.
yeah. Um,
Is my sound okay before we get
yeah,
going?
sounds great. Sounds really good.
Okay, good,
I
good.
have, just so you have a little history of me, I was sexually abused as a child. My mother died when I was 18. Two of my
Hmm.
brothers were incarcerated, and both of those brothers are passed away already. And so
Oh,
I've just, I'm open to what, and I'm having a talk, I'm having a podcast where I'm talking to all these women about sex and what it means to be a woman and have sex. And so I am really open and want to have an open conversation. So you don't have to edit it down for me. And I really
it
appreciate intimate, open conversations. That's why I'd like it to just not have any, you not know, I don't know what I'm going to ask, so we'll just see.
sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay. So whenever you're ready, and then I'll just ask a question based on what you say or something I already have in my head.
All right. Hi, my name is Stephen Matthew Clark. I am a PhD student. Getting ready to start my studies in consciousness and noetic sciences at California Institute of Human Sciences. I'm also an incarcerated experiencer. I've been in a maximum security prison for the past 18 years. And over these past 18 years, I've really had an opportunity to get to understand myself better, understand the whys of my behavior, and understand the choices. The gift is I've been able to understand the choices that have brought me here a little bit better.
I thank you for that. Do you mind me asking why you were incarcerated? And by the way, I edit very carefully. I can delete anything. So,
Yeah, that's fine. In 2006, I was in an altercation with a friend of mine in my home, and my friend lost his life. And um, being scared to death and fearful of prison, I made some horrific decisions, horrible decisions. I panicked, and a lot of fear and a lot of stress hormones were pumping through me at the time. And I would say the desire to preserve myself, self-preservation, and a lot of fear were in play. So I made some bad choices,
yeah.
some really bad choices.
What is your sentence?
I'm currently serving a 43-year sentence.
Wow.
43-year sentence. I've served 18 of it, like I suggested in my introduction. So currently with good time, I'm about halfway through my sentence.
What age will you be when you get out?
I would be 66 years old.
Wow, you were so young. I'm so sorry that life has brought you here.
Mm,
Um, I mentioned that I had two brothers that were incarcerated, and I know that they were, because I grew up with them, I know that they were nice people who made bad choices and, were doing whatever they could to survive. And so I just understand that you are not what you did. And so you said you were getting a master's degree. What did you say?
I just actually earned my master's
Oh, you
degree.
earned it.
Yeah, I earned my master's degree and I'm starting a PhD
Oh, right.
um, degree here in July, which is pretty unique. I'll be one of the first, if not the first person in the United States prison system to start a PhD from a maximum security prison, which is pretty unique.
Wow. Um, what does maximum security mean? Are you in your own, not with the rest of the population? What does it mean?
No, maximum security is just I think the fences.
Oh,
So
okay.
minimum security will have one fence. A maximum security, I think, has three fences separating us from society, and they have a perimeter guard that scrolls around in a truck. And I think the lock-in time and the level of freedoms is lesser than a minimum security.
Mm. But this is exciting that I can talk to you from where you are and that you're able to do a Zoom. Can you explain how you have that ability?
I sure can. So Maine is a pioneer in the correctional field. We have a commissioner that is both a compassionate person that believes in restorative and transformative justice, but he's also somebody that has experienced incarceration firsthand with his father being incarcerated. So what that's done, it's really given him a lot of empathy and compassion for us. And he realized the importance of not warehousing a human being, but giving a human being opportunities to become a better person. And he has brought in programs such as a vet dog program, a shelter dog program, a yoga program, Vipassana. Um, he created a veterans pod. He's created an earned living unit. So there's many different facets that have, or many different opportunities that have occurred because of his existence here with us. We also have a very progressive warden that believes in the power of education and transformation. And because of that, we were to start a master's degree from here. Um, we had to get online, and a lot of it was asynchronous at the time, meaning that we watched recorded classes. But over time, in building trust with the facility, more and more opened up. We were able to take synchronous classes. And then Maine just received, I think, a $1.6 million technology grant to provide all their residents with technology. And in that, some of us that have higher educations that are working on graduate school have more flexibility and opportunity to be on Zoom and more opportunity to, um, yeah, to do research and to make connections with people on the outside that would and will allow us to move forward more successfully.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed and choked up about all that. My one of the brothers was in and out of the system his entire life, really. I mean, from 18 till he passed away at 37. I just couldn't seem to break free from it. So I appreciate that there's opportunity. Both brothers did get their GED in jail, however. So there was something that came from it, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. But I'm so glad that you're allowed to do this, and also that you're bringing light into the world from a surprisingly dark place. Do you want to talk about what you're doing in terms of programs, or explain what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Um, so programs, I mean, in the prison system itself, I've been facilitating and working with other individuals for the past 14 or 15 years. It started when I received my first bachelor's degree. I started working with the substance abuse department here, bringing in programs where there was really a lack of services. And then moving forward, for my master's degree, um, I created a coaching program based on the International Coaching Federation's framework. And my hope and my goal was to bring forth skills in individuals in the prison system that would enhance their emotional intelligence, provide them an opportunity to reach self-actualization in a form of self-transcendence where they could help other people. And at the same time, while doing that, they'd build up a great deal of emotional intelligence and formulate a community within the prison system. So that program, um, it was real difficult at the time because of COVID. COVID
Mm.
was taking place, and we were experiencing lock-ins up to 24 hours a day. Some days we were out for 15 minutes a day. That went on for a couple months. So you had to get out and determine whether you're going to take a shower or you were going to get on the phone to
Mm.
call your family. So because of that, it really created some challenges with the coaching program I was putting in place. At the same time, I was also doing research for loving kindness meditations in the prison setting and the carceral setting. And that research came to a halt because of the lock-ins. So there was no consistency, and it was a big challenge. But to move forward with that, we did create a coaching program. We had two cohorts of people go through. Many of those guys are still coaching, and they're in roles in the prison of helping other people right now. But I had to present that capstone online in something that was called an exchange. And in that exchange, there was around 60, I'd say, to 70 people that showed up. And people left utilizing what I had learned in graduate school from David Cooper Ryder, this appreciative inquiry, just asking questions. So through asking questions and somewhat of a presentation, people left having this really profound experience and really encouraged me to keep moving forward with the work. And some of the prison staff was actually on that call as well, who also had a really decent experience. So what we did, we utilized that exchange, and I started doing trainings with this really amazing organization called Exchange Approach that's run by a gentleman by the name of John Berghoff. And John welcomed me into his community, even being in prison, with open arms. And in fact, he allowed me to share my experience, strength, and hope with other coaches and consultants across the world. Same opportunity you're providing me here, just to change consciousness about what's really possible in prisons if people are giving the right opportunities. So with further training and with further coaching and support of Exchange Approach, I started doing and putting together online exchanges for criminal justice healing. I don't even like the word reform so much
Mm-hmm.
anymore. I don't think we need to reform an old system. I think we need to create a new system. So what I've been doing is bringing people together all over the world. And what we do is we have an exchange where I bring in musicians, I bring in um, keynote speakers, I'll bring in people that have a lot of experience within the criminal justice field that are doing extraordinary things. and we provide an exchange around that person or around a certain idea or concept. Um, and the turnouts have been anywhere between, I'd say, 30 people to 240 people.
Wow.
So um, they're really creating an opportunity and a platform for people within this field to come together to be seen, heard, and felt. And that's the biggest thing is so many people were all participating in this work of servitude and volunteerism and working hard as social workers, as change agents, and as people that really, really care. However, there's usually little space for us to come together to be seen, heard, and felt. And that really creates burnout and it creates a sense of loneliness. And as you know, loneliness is more toxic than smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Hmm.
And what I'm finding is these exchanges are creating these connections that are beautiful. So people, it's interesting. People like from California are meeting people in Florida who are meeting people in Maine, and now they're sharing resources and sharing support with one another, and it's really interesting to see. And it's also really powerful to see the feedback that I'm getting from people all over the world.
That's awesome. And it's open to the public?
It's open to the public. That's the greatest gift. It's
Yeah.
open to the public right now.
Yeah.
The exchanges are free. We want the public to come in to have an experience to learn more about the field of criminal justice reform or prison reform. Traditionally, we think of prisons like Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Andy Dufresne going into prison, unfortunately, he gets, and not that it doesn't happen in prisons, but they plant that seed in your head that everybody gets raped, everybody gets brutalized or killed in prison. And there's a lot of um, either media out there or there's a lot of stories out there. That's the idea that people have of prison. Somebody's behind bars, they're locked up wearing stripes, when in fact, that's not the case in prisons. Not that it's not still happening, but there's a new blend that's happening in prisons, and that's transformation and opportunities for people to change their lives and reform. And that's what we have to get behind and support. And I just
Well,
say this, we've had a 77% recidivism rate in the United States for the past, I'd say the past 100 years. So seven out of 10 people get out, they come back, they commit new crimes. And essentially what's been going on for a long period of time is we've been warehousing people. We've been fueling the prison industrial complex system by locking people up with more severe sentences, with harsher harsher laws on drugs. We have been targeting our African American population for a long period of time, which is Michelle Alexander calls a new Jim Crow.
mm,
We have been really preying on people from low socioeconomic backgrounds. And the prison industrial complex is a moneymaker. It's not capitalism at its finest. It's not a it's not a system that does not profit or make dollars. In fact, it's very profitable. You have big organizations like Bob Barker. Victoria's Secrets utilizes some privatized prisons to sew up their bras for them because it's cheaper to sew bras in the United States than it is overseas because you're
oh,
using prison labor.
I had no idea.
So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Abbott Labs, there's many different corporations and organizations that utilize prison labor because of how cheap it is.
Yeah.
So go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, you mentioned Shawshank and how that's not what it really is like, which is of course in my head. But then there was also just a TV show where regular people, go in. I can't remember the name of that. But that was scary to watch that, somebody you're just always on guard. I don't remember the name of that show.
That so that's the contagion that's being spread across the United States. And I guess when I first got to prison, it wasn't too far away from that, and that's because of the mindset that I particularly had, being
Mm,
conditioned by movies and what I've seen.
yeah.
But what I'm learning is we can create a paradigm shift in the system of mass incarceration and create new opportunities for people. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says it best in his book, Body Keeps the Score, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
In contrast, healed people healed people. So if we look at if we look at the prison population, it's a lot of people that have been through a great deal of adverse childhood experiences. They've been through households that were broken, shattered, where there was dysfunction. One of their parents may or may not have been incarcerated. They may or may not have experienced physical, sexual, um, verbal abuse for a long period of time. They might have witnessed their father abusing their mother, or vice versa, their mother abusing their father, because that does happen. They may have had a parent with mental health issues. They may have had a parent that had committed or um, attempted suicide.
Mm,
So there's all these different traumas that a lot of these, or they may have been in foster care, and foster care is a whole different um, beast within itself. So these kids, a lot of these folks that I am incarcerated with, there's been a great deal of trauma. There's been a great deal of poor conditioning growing up. And really the opposite of all that is love. So, and I know it sounds like a tacky probably word to use in the prison setting. I know it scares the crap out of a lot of prison staff, and it scares the crap out of prisoners at times, but the truth is we really need love. We need love to be able to reprogram our consciousness, to have a new outlook. We need to view ourselves as this is a growth experience. We're not victims, and we need to start. My friend Jenny Burton, she's a big advocate for this stuff. She had spent time incarcerated, and she says it best. We need to start intentionally. We don't need to abolish prisons, because we need prisons in place. People need a space where they can heal, but we need to intentionally incarcerate people. And what I mean by that is you don't allow somebody to come in and lay in bed all day long, or come into prison and get involved with gangs and do that crap. That's what the prison industrial complex allows, because it perpetuates the cycle. It allows somebody to keep coming in and keep coming in and keep coming in. What we need to really do as a nation is we need to come together and start intentionally incarcerated people. And when we intentionally incarcerate people, we're coming up with solutions. And I think that's really, really, really important. It's like the story I heard about the doctor. The doctor goes swimming and he jumps in the water and he's swimming around and he hears this kid screaming for help. The kid's floating down the river and he swims over to him. He grabs the kid and he brings the kid to shore. And lo and behold, there's two more kids coming down the river screaming for help. The doctor dives back in. He grabs both of those kids and brings them out. Who would have thought there's five more kids coming down the river? Well, the doctor sees some other doctors pulling up. They all jump in and start swimming for the kids and saving them. And then all of a sudden, the doctor gets in the car and he just takes off. So all the other doctors are like, what's going on? He just left. And no, he drove upstream to find out who was throwing the kids in the freaking water to
mhm,
stop it.
mhm,
And I think that's the approach we really need to take to corrections. Prison isn't a personal problem. It's a systematic and a societal issue. And we have 2.3 million people incarcerated, higher than anywhere in the world per capita. We're locking up more of our citizens with less of a solution than anywhere else. So Norway has this model where people come in, it's intentional incarceration. They have a 22 to 25% recidivism rate, 50% less, because they humanize their individuals. Humans are humans. Some people don't want to change. You need to have that will, that intrinsic motivation. But if you have that will and that intrinsic motivation and there's no opportunities available for you, and the only thing you can do to survive is to join a gang or to do other things, that does take place because of the way the prison industrial complex is set up. However, if people are running their prisons like Commissioner Liberty, like Warden Matthew Magnuson, where there's healing, where there's opportunities for somebody to grow, where there's opportunities. I've earned an associate's degree, 2 bachelor's degrees, a master's degree. I have many different letters after my name now. I'm going to be earning a PhD. I have connections with the most beautiful people across the world. If I was released here tomorrow, I'm going to be successful. Other
Right.
people, that's one of my biggest, like, that's what I want to show. It's like, hey, drive up the river with me and let's stop throwing let's stop the issue where it is. And I think what it is as well is those of us with lived experience. You had talked about some of the traumas you have been through. Who better to talk to somebody else and support somebody else than somebody that has that same lived experience,
Right.
somebody that is doing better and seeing better and functioning better, somebody that has done that work, that inner work, that has healed, that has found a solution. I'm not saying you know everything. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you can at least be my guide and my mentor. You can be somebody that loves me back into wellness. And I think that's what we are missing out with the people in prisons. We're the biggest untapped resource out there to heal this system.
I'm so choked up. I can't even think of what to say. What do you want Joe Blow to know? What do you want my neighbor to know who has no experience with anybody he loves ever having been incarcerated and just thinks, throw the book, lock him up? How dare this guy have Zoom? What do you think of that? I mean, what would you say to that person?
Ruth Ginsburg said it best. She said, justice means not only punishing those who do wrong, but also providing them with a chance to change.
Mm-hmm. And we all have that chance, right? No matter what age you are, no matter what you've done, no matter what your background, no matter what you've been through, no matter what stories you're telling yourself, there is an opportunity to live a full life.
You're absolutely right. And I think Brian Stevenson, a renowned criminal justice attorney who's done a lot for criminal justice and civil rights, he says, if you want to see the true measure of a society, just watch how it treats its prisoners. And what I would say to the average Joe Blow is we are all better than the worst choice we've ever made.
Mm-hmm.
We are all redeemable. We are all deserving of forgiveness. I mean, all of our big religions out there are peppered in, they talk about forgiveness. We want to be forgiven, but we're so reluctant to forgive other people. We don't want to be judged, but we're so quick to judge other people. What I would say to Joe Blow is take some time, go meet a prisoner, start a dialogue with somebody in prison just to learn more about them, learn more about their lives, learn more about what got them there. Take some time and some compassion. If we are all brothers and sisters on this planet, take some time to show up for somebody else, because that time that you show up for somebody else will teach you a lot about yourself that you didn't know. And I would also say that men and women in our criminal justice system right now, the majority of people are not serving life without the possibility of parole sentences. They're gonna be released. Who do you want living beside you? Do you want the person that has really intentionally been incarcerated, where they're doing things to change their life around, that's been shown love and forgiveness? Or do you want the guy that you've been judging, the guy that you've been putting down, the guy that you've been ridiculing, the guy that you will not give a chance and listen to? Do you want him living beside you where he's resentful at you, where he hasn't healed either, and he hasn't had a chance to heal? In fact, he can feel that energy that you're holding towards him. I would say I would want the guy that's rehabilitated living beside me. I would say I want the guy that has changed his life around. And I think it's freaking important to remember. It's like we're all in this journey together. We're all in this life together. It's so easy to walk down the street and see a homeless person on the sidewalk and just walk over them and pretend they're not there. And I think that's what happens a lot in the criminal justice system. People drive by our prison systems, people pretend that we're not there, out of sight, out of mind, but we are there. And I mean, the only thing that prompts that up, you see crimes on TV and people immediately have the knee-jerk reaction to judge and to formulate their own ideas of what happened and what should happen to the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Essentially, I really believe in my heart of hearts, we need to take more time and figure out the whys of behavior. If we're just looking at the behavior itself, all we're doing is we're jumping in and we're saving the kids as they're coming down the river. But if we start looking at the why, what is the condition that is causing people for this particular behavior or this particular thing to take place? And if we can get to the root of that, if we can start, it's like substance abuse. If we can get to the root of what the substance abuse is coming from, you don't just say, okay, stop using or drinking. You take a look and you allow that person an opportunity to take a look within and do that shadow work.
Yeah.
That's the same work Joe Blow needs to do with himself in regards to the judgment that he's putting on the person in prison. It's like, if you're really judging that person, you're judging yourself.
Oh, I
You
say
need to
that all the
have,
time. If you're
yeah,
judging others, you're judging yourself. Or I say that I truly think that the more I love me, the more I love you.
oof, that's beautiful.
And so I mentioned that I'm doing a podcast with a bunch of women, with women talking about our sexual experiences. And one of the things we've all had unwanted sexual experiences. And we've put ourselves in those situations, though, because a lack of self love is what I think. And so, how important do you think? I think you think it is, but how important do you think it is that we love ourselves, not just each other, but first and foremost ourselves? And
Well,
forgiveness has to be, you have to forgive yourself first.
I'm going to answer that question, but I want to ask you a question first.
Hmm.
Why do you feel like that question is so important, not only for you and I on this call, but for those that are listening?
I talk to so many people, and I have two daughters. One wants whatever surgery to look differently. I noticed that there was one show I was watching, and the girl had all these like micro braided brows. I'm just like, we cannot love ourselves the way we are. We have so much self hatred. I talk to so many women, no matter what age they are, that they don't love themselves. And so, how can you love others? Because the more I found love for myself, the more I just see it everywhere. And I think that's the key. That's why it feels very vital to me that we learn how to be okay, not just accept, but unconditionally love this body, this mind, doing all the work, and knowing that there's room for improvement.
It's so beautiful. It's so, so beautiful.
Yeah.
I believe my capacity to love and forgive myself has, I mean, all of our ability to love and forgive ourselves has the potential to reshape our entire existence, this entire planet, the way and direction humanity is going in. Our capacity to love and forgive ourselves and others is the foundation upon which we can build a life filled with joy, authenticity, and personal growth.
Mhm.
I would say all too often we carry the weight of our past mistakes, and those freaking mistakes, they can be like a heavy, heavy backpack that we're carrying around. And sometimes we even pretend like, hey, it's not bothering me. That doesn't, that thing that happened 5 years ago, it's not affecting me anymore. But we've never addressed it. So essentially, we've tucked it away down and deep down into the crevices of our subconscious. and that comes up when we don't really even realize it. So carrying around that weight of our past mistakes, failures, and our regrets are like heavy chains around our heart. It's almost like a sheath we put up around our heart. We punish ourselves with self-criticism, and we live in a constant state of guilt and shame. But I want to say to each and every person listening to this call, and I'm saying this to myself as well, it's time that we break free from these self-imposed limitations. Self-love is not selfish. It's a radical act of liberation. Let me say that one more time. Self-love is not selfish. It is a radical act of liberation. It's about recognizing our inherent worthiness. It's about embracing our imperfections. I might be 5 or 10 pounds overweight right now. I might have a bold personality. Whatever it is, it's about really embracing our imperfections and embracing the fullness of who we really, really are, who Source made us to be. And it's about honoring our journey and acknowledging that we are deserving of compassion, kindness, and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people forget that. It's like we get into the self-judgment for choices we've made. Women, I've met women that have done it because of relationship they have been in the past. I've met men that have done it. I've done it
I've
with
done it.
with relationship, beat the crap out of myself, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, absolutely and positively questioning like every you look through, it's like, did I do this wrong? Did I do this wrong? Oh, I'm this, and we start putting these labels on ourselves, um, which is really, really challenging, right? And what I've realized and what I'm still realizing, this is my work that I'm still doing myself and that I try to help other people with in the process of self-forgiveness. We actually release the burdens of our past and open ourselves up to the transformative power of healing and the transformative power of love, because love, that unconditional love that is all around us, we open ourselves up for that when we can forgive ourselves. And I would say it's not about denying or condoning our actions, because that's a really rough place to be too.
Mm-hmm.
You get into condoning, oh, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. And then you crawl up in your head, which is really a terrible place to be. So it's not about denying or condoning our actions, but rather about embracing our capacity to grow, evolve, and learn from our experiences. And I would say also when we choose, or when I choose, or when you choose self-love and self-forgiveness, you invite profound shifts within yourself and radiate that transformative energy into the world. You become an agent of change, not only for yourself, but for those that are around you. Um, recently watched a video on YouTube. It's a little girl. She's walking by this man and she's hopping and skipping, right? She's just happy-go-lucky. She's doing like a hop and a skip, and it's adorable. And the guy walks by and it looks like this guy that's kind of a tough looking guy. So he sees the girl and he looks back and she's out of, you think something bad might happen. She's gone. Well, he starts hopping and skipping down and it's so important to remember that, because there is a such thing as emotional contagion and social contagion. So when we practice these things, it might not seem like it, but it does affect other people. It really, really does.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would invite anybody that's listening to this call, if you are listening to this call, if you're listening to me, thank you. First off, I have a hard time listening to myself sometimes. So if you are listening, much love to you for your interest and your kindness and your heart, and just for showing up in your interest in prisons and what prisons look like, and criminal justice reform and healing and all the good work we're doing. And this podcast itself is amazing. based on what I know of the podcast. So thank you for keep showing up and thank you for being here. What I would invite you to, my invitation to you is to embark on this journey with me. Embark on this journey with me and I would say, let us shed the layers of self-doubt and self-judgment. Let's collectively cultivate a deep reservoir of love and forgiveness within ourselves. And as we do that, we're going to create a ripple effect of compassion and empathy and understanding that can touch the lives of countless others. So you're listening to this call right now. You're saying, goodness gracious, this guy in prison is talking about self-love and self-forgiveness and how that can ripple out and affect other people. Well, this is a prime example of it. My inner work, my inner journey in the work that I've been on has led me and brought me to here into this podcast, right? And that just goes to show that it really does work. And I would say, remember that self-love and self-forgiveness are not destinations.
Yeah.
They're not destinations, right? They're a lifelong practice.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easy to forget. It's like, okay, let's talk about patience. And then you get to the bank and there's like, you have somewhere to be and there's like too many people. You like,
Yeah.
or you're in traffic and the person cuts you off and it's like, I practice radical kindness and radical acceptance and loving kindness all the time. And then it's, somebody cuts you off and you're like, you have a few choice words underneath your breath that you say. And it's like, oh my God, where did the loving kindness go in that moment?
Yeah.
Um, but what I would say, it's important that we embrace these practices and we keep talking about them and having these conversations about them. We nurture them and then we watch as they empower us to live authentically.
Yeah.
And we embrace our truth and we manifest our highest potential. Um, I say this, like if I was talking to myself, I'm talking to you, and it's like, you are worthy, you are deserving, you are capable of love and forgiveness beyond measure. You are worthy, you are deserving, you are capable of love and forgiveness beyond measure. And it's like, let's embark on this journey together and empower each other to shine brightly in the world. And it's that 4-letter word. It really is. It always goes back to that 4-letter word. And
Yeah.
it's so simple. It's like love, 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 love.
Hmm.
Um, you say, what is it like being in prison? Well, sometimes it's pretty freaking lonely being so loving and so open, and
Hmm.
this being who I am and the person that I've become, because not everybody's ready for that. We're all at different levels, and I don't think I think society's pretty on board with what happens. This is a microcosm. You know, you might live in a neighborhood, you might have three, you might know two of your neighbors, you don't know eight of them. And you might have a quarrel with a neighbor. It's like, you put your bushes too close to my driveway, or your kids left your bike on the lawn. It looks horrible. Clean that up. And it's so interesting. It's like, well, no, it's okay. I love you. And the neighbor's like, few choice words, right? Um, but I think no matter what we do, and no matter how we show up, the neighbor stays the same. But that's okay, because that's the neighbor. Our work to do is to realize the neighbor is our biggest teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, that's like the journey I've been on. It's like, I'm realizing like the people around me, people that judge me in society, the court system. Maine is fighting to bring parole back. We have the worst sentencing in the United States. The longest sentences were rated F minus,
Mm.
and we have the harshest sentences, and we have no parole. It was abolished in 1976, And it's interesting. Um, we recently, just share this with you real quick. We recently had a debate with Wake Forest. We professional debate. So three of us were picked to debate, or there was five of us. We debated against Wake Forest University. They're the three-time champions of debate. So they beat Harvard, they beat all these huge MIT, all these huge schools out there that are really known for debate. And we go into the debate. It's on life without the possibility of parole. We're debating against it. They can't really take it. It was a hard stance for them because a lot of them are pretty liberal and they didn't want to defend life without the possibility of parole, so they took a different stance. But we beat them. The point is, we beat them in this debate. You have five men in prison that beat the national debate champions in school, right? So really felt good. Wow, we beat the national debate team. What an amazing thing we just did. It was great. We're transforming our lives. We are making progress. We are putting Maine on the map for like our educational department. And then the news reporter comes in, they do a story on it. And they're all excited. Oh, this is a great story. You guys did good. And they put the story in the paper. And the story is about our crimes 18 years ago, 20
Oh.
years ago. It's not even about the debate. What I would say is don't be that newspaper.
Hmm.
Please see me with love and forgiveness. Have self-love and self-forgiveness for yourself, and see me as the person that I am today, the person that stands before you as somebody that has diligently and mindfully worked at transformation and change. I came in here with a lot of guilt and shame. My dear friend of mine lost his life. I made some horrible choices. I lied. I acted inhumanly and out of fear and panic. And I really sought out to understand those things and why did I make this choice? Why did I make this choice? Why did this happen where I couldn't think clearly? Why did this happen? Why was my life like this? So those are all questions that I had sought out to find for myself. I needed to understand myself better. I needed to understand the choices and behaviors that brought me here. So I've been on a journey ever since doing that. It's like, please see me, see me for who I am, because I love you. First off, I'm not, I don't have any aggressions towards you, or I feel like we're all in this together. And I just ask, it's like, please don't judge me like the newspaper did. It was like all the work that I've done to
Yeah.
change myself, all the work that I've done to take responsibility for the choices that has put me here, all the meetings I've had, the man in my case who is no longer with us, his mom has been visiting me for the past 18 years. She's a really dear friend of mine.
Mm.
She's been working with the court system to ask them to release me. And she came and testified at my post-conviction hearing, which is an appeal. And she's been a big advocate for me. She has forgiven me. She loves me like a friend. She treats me like her son. She's a really good, beautiful soul.
Mm.
See me like she sees me. Um, see me like she sees me. I think somewhere in Luke in the Bible, Jesus is doing a sermon in Galilee, and one of his he's asked for the release of all prisoners. I think the Dalai Lama said it best. He said, an eye for an eye doesn't heal things. It makes the whole freaking world blind.
Right. Right.
And
And
it's like,
who
go ahead.
hasn't also just who hasn't done anything they're not ashamed of, maybe haven't been caught doing. I'm just saying, if I'm not even the woman I was last week, forget 5 years ago, forget 20. So, I mean, I don't want to be held accountable for the young woman I was and the actions she chose. So I totally understand what you're saying.
that's so beautifully. You should I call you Allison or Hara?
Hara is my name. Allison's the
Hara.
last name.
Well, I've been calling you Miss Allison.
Oh, that works. It's
Miss
easier than
Allison.
Hara sometimes.
No, I love Hara. I think Hara is beautiful. You don't
Thank
hear
you.
that every day. Hara, does
Mhm.
that mean heart?
No, it's my mother in the Jewish religion. You're named after somebody your parent loves with the first initial, and her grandfather, who was her favorite person, was Harry. So she named me after
Oh,
him. Yeah, I feel very honored.
well, what a beautiful name. First
Thanks.
off, thank you,
Thanks.
Hara. We want to honor that name. So yeah, Hara. I love it. I think you made a very valid and a really beautiful point. Nobody wants to be judged by the worst thing that they've ever done. And holy Moses, dig
Hmm.
deep in your consciousness. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of angels on this, not necessarily on this call, but there's a lot of angels in the world that have never done anything. They're perfect. They're so good. Um, that's cool. Hey, that's where you're at. That's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You teach me. Um, you can reach out to Hara and get my information. Send me a letter and we can talk because I have a lot to learn from you. That's sarcasm, by the way. Also, I just want to say that we really do have a lot to learn from that because we have all had challenges. We've all gone through things in our lives. We've all had that moment where we've lied, where we've maybe stolen something, maybe where we have fudged a number on our taxes, maybe where we saw a $100 bill at the bank on the ground and we picked it up and put it in our pocket, or we saw something we know that did not belong to us, but we took it anyway.
Hmm.
And you felt that feeling that you feel when you
Hmm.
know it's not right, but we still follow through with it.
Right.
Many of us have um you name it, we've done it. We've done
Right.
things that we know that are not right. You don't want to be defined by that. You don't want to be called a thief or cheat or adulterer, or nobody wants to wear scarlet letter for whatever that thing is they've done for the rest of their lives.
Right.
I just say I love you and I forgive you. And I don't even know if I need to say I forgive you. I think it's the Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono is uh, it's an ancient methodology that they utilize, which just involves four simple mantras. And those mantras are thank you, forgive me, I'm sorry, I love you.
Hmm.
And this methodology is so powerful, it healed the whole prison. There was a prison back in the day that it was pretty intense in there. I mean, it was a mental health place. They wore those jackets where they tied
Straight
their hands to
jackets. Yeah.
straight jacket. There you go. Whatever the heck name it is. Holy Moses, putting people in those. So they had people in straight jackets. Guards were getting attacked. The guards, it was so violent, people had to walk against the wall.
Mm.
The staff did, and they were looking for a solution. They brought this gentleman in, and the gentleman took a different approach, and his approach was looking at the files of each person that was housed there, and based on the traumas, the challenges, whatever they had gone through in their lives that had perpetuated this mental health condition, he went into deep meditation and brought one of those four or several or all four of those four into the equation. And the power of prayer or the power of meditation or the power of both of them together, within a matter of weeks, the staff noticed that the assaults started going down. The population started smiling more.
Mm.
There was less incidents. There was more communication. Within weeks, they started letting people, or months, excuse me, they started letting more people go from the unit. And I think within a matter of a year or two, they closed the unit down.
Mm.
So it's amazing. I mean, that's the prayer or the mantra or the meditation we can all do collectively.
Yeah. I like what you said about I might not even need to say I forgive you because when I was not long after my divorce and from my first husband, and I had gone through some, you know, crazy things trying to find myself. I had two young girls and I was looking to religion. And I remember I was in my car crying and I called my sister and I said, I was feeling so much shame. And I said, God can never forgive me. And she said, there's nothing to forgive you for. And I swear that was a life-changing moment. I feel like I felt God's love wash over me and that there's nothing to forgive me for. I was human. I did what I did, you know. I didn't make great choices, but that was the first step towards understanding myself, my humanity, loving myself, and forgiving myself. Though I don't know if there's anything to forgive myself for.
Hmm. That's beautiful and well said.
Thank you.
That's beautiful and well said. If we were, let's just say that we're on this podcast together, and let's say that what's our hope? I'm going to ask you that, and then I'll share mine. But what is our hope? What is your hope that talking to a man in a maximum security prison who is sharing his, I guess, experience, strength, and hope with your audience? What is your hope that the audience takes away?
I started this podcast because I spent most of my life suffering over the story I was telling myself that I was what happened to me was what I allowed to happen to me, the choices I made. And until I did the work and took responsibility for my choices and my world opened up and I found I was the cause of all my suffering,
Hmm.
um, well, that's when I started to do this podcast because I want my daughters, my young women daughters, to not have to wait till they're as I was just saying, I want my young women daughters to not have to wait till their mid 40s to not suffer. You
Hmm.
are in a maximum security prison and you're talking about love and light and forgiveness, and you are the perfect example of what I'm trying to show the world and my daughters in particular. They're always on my mind. Um, that we we have a choice.
We have a choice. That's beautiful. I admire you. I'd like to get to know you on a more personal level. It seems like you are really in tune. Um, I think that's why we're probably connected, and I think that's why we probably got connected.
Mm-hmm.
It really reminds me of, I'm not sure if you've read or the audience has read any of Viktor Frankl's work, um, but as we delve into the depths of human experience and uncover the transformative power that really lies within our darkest moments, um, I think it's important to consider Viktor Frankl and his book Man's Search for Meaning. And
Mm.
he said, I remember this quote vividly. He says, excuse me,
Sure.
he says, in some ways, suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning.
Mm.
Suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. Suffering is an inevitable part of all of our journeys. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, sometimes it really feels we get into these we get into these sweet pockets. It's like, oh my gosh, everything is sweet right now. I don't think it could be any sweeter. I have love. I have a new car. I got a new doggy named Molly. Oh my goodness gracious. I go out on the weekends. I drink. I have some fun with my friends. I cook out at my house. I got a good job. Nothing can go bad. What are these people talking about? They're sad, right? we get caught up in that mind trap. It's like, yeah, everything's great. And then as seamless as life seemed, and then comes the suffering.
Mhm.
So suffering is essentially an inevitable part of all of our journeys. It can be agonizing, relentless, and unbearable at times. It's been unbearable for me at times being in a maximum security prison. I'll just
Yeah.
share that with each and every person on this call. There's been some real dark moments where I had thought about even moving on to the next existence because the pain, the loneliness, the feelings of isolations were so great. It felt like um, it felt unbearable.
Mhm.
I'll come back to that at the end. I think amidst the pain, there's always a glimmer of hope. And again, through our trials and tribulations, we have an opportunity for redemption. One of my favorite poets, Rumi, he says, the wound is the place where the light enters you,
Mm.
right? The wound is the place where the light enters you. Our wounds, our scars, our brokenness can become the catalyst for profound growth
Mhm.
and for transformation.
Mhm.
Um, they hold the potential to ignite the flame of resilience within each and every one of us. Redemption, as well, I want to say, is not a single act. It's a journey. You just said it. I mean, I wish, well, thankfully we have it recorded. I'll be able to go back and listen to it. But you said it beautifully. So redemption is not a single act. It's a journey of self-discovery and healing,
Mhm.
right? The
Mhm.
more I know myself, the better off I can be of service to others.
Mhm.
It's it's about finding meaning in our suffering and using it as a stepping stone towards personal evolution. And I'm not sure, have you read any of Joseph Campbell?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Joseph Campbell's the man, right? Joseph Campbell beautifully stated the hero's journey is one of reconciliation with the self. The
Mm.
hero's journey is one of reconciliation with the self. It's through facing our darkest moments head on, not running from them, but really facing them, where we find our strength to rise above them. It doesn't, by making pretend, it didn't happen, by
Yeah.
drinking it away, by using drugs, by having sex, by playing video games, by going shopping, by doing all these things we do to numb ourselves. That does not propel us forward. And I did that for years of my life to get away from trauma, to get away from the challenges, um, to make it seem like it didn't hurt me. I'm okay. You can't affect me.
Yeah.
When I was really hurting inside, deeply, deeply, deeply. And oh goodness, I think in the depths of suffering, we are offered a unique perspective on life. In it's these moments that we gain a profound understanding of our own humanity, our empathy for others, and a renewed sense of purpose. Um, Naichi, I think Naichi wrote this. He said, "To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering."
Mhm.
Again, another.
Yeah.
So to live is to suffer. To live is to suffer.
Right.
To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. Redemption, I really believe this too. This is something I really just want to say, and I think this is important for everybody. Redemption requires vulnerability and courage. We live in a world where I think men have it really. I know women have it rough, believe me, and I'm not disputing that at all. Inequalities, the challenges women go through, I honor women more than I ever have in my entire life. I have so much freaking profound respect for my mother, my grandmother, for you. You're a mom. Amazing. Women, I honor the heck out of women. men, we have it freaking rough too. We've screwed this world up. Our egos, our need for greed, our strive for pride, our
Hmm.
freaking, we have messed this freaking world up. And to be a man in today's world and to like want to be vulnerable and to really want to open yourself up, it's tough.
Hmm.
It is freaking tough at times. And goodness gracious, men, I think, are judged on bedroom, how we perform sexually, how good looking we are, um, ball field, like how we perform on the sports, how athletic, how buffed out, how far we can throw the football, or billfold, like what kind of car we drive, how much money we have. So that's the pressures of a man, right? So bedroom, ball
But do,
field.
but don't you think I mean, just like I appreciate you saying that I'm not sure it's a woman man problem. I think it's a human problem.
You, you are not fibbing at all with that. It's a
That's
human
all I
condition.
mean. Because I mean, we have the same issues. Like, it's not maybe on the what, but it's how we perform in the bedroom. It's what we look like. You know what I'm saying? It's just a human problem we have of our expectations of others.
Well, I guess what I'm saying
But I
is
hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I think it's just
uh,
also,
I'm I agree with you 110% as a man though, being in and
yeah.
women, it's easier, I think, for women, like a lot of people, a lot of humans that I'm talking to right now about these issues of women, because women are more emotionally in tune. I don't know what it is. I think women have a more innate ability to be vulnerable and emotional, connected spiritually. It seems like there's a lot of women spiritually connected. So I think that's what I mean when maybe I'm projecting my own stuff out there.
I
But
don't know. I don't know. I just wanted to say that I mean, because the reason I thought to say that was because I've only loved poor men. My husband happens to be very handsome, but that was just a bonus.
okay,
You know what I'm
okay.
saying? I just think it's a human thing. Like, what each person likes is a preference. I mean, I don't care whether he can play sports or not, you know?
Yeah,
So I'm
I'm
just
with you.
saying
I'm with you. I'm
that's
with
all. The
you. I'm
reason
with
I
you.
wanted to say something was just because of that, because I feel like everybody has their preferences. Some women, of course, definitely are judging or want a man that you're saying, but that's not everybody.
Right. Well, I guess maybe I'm coming from a context too of being in a prison with surrounded by men. I'm
Yeah.
not surrounded by women most of the conversations, and men have it rough because it just seems like a lot of guys I talk to online too. It's like they want to relate to me with sports, or they want to
Hmm.
relate like talking about women, or they want to relate talking about like their car or
Hmm.
stuff like that, things like that.
Hmm.
And I guess what I'm saying is men have it's tough to be in a space sometimes with other men to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And redemption, just to circle back to what we were saying, redemption really requires vulnerability and courage. It
Hmm.
takes taking responsibility. It demands us to confront our pain, acknowledge our mistakes, and really embrace our imperfections, right? And it's through this process that we can find forgiveness for ourselves and for others. I think Desmond Tutu once said, without forgiveness, there's no future,
Right.
which is freaking huge. And you remember, redemption is not about erasing the past, it's about transforming it. And I think it's good to learn from my own mistakes, for us to learn from our mistakes, making amends, which is taking responsibility and choosing a different path forward. Now, sometimes because of neuroplasticity, it becomes so easy to be on that same path, to get back onto that path, even if we've made a change.
Yeah.
So if you walk across a field 100 times, if it's tall grass, you're going to beat down a path. So that path is there now, right? So then you realize, holy this is not a good path. I need to walk a new path. So you start walking this new path, and you're creating a new path, and you lay down a new path. But what everybody I respectfully just say is it's important to remember we created this other path that path is still there. There's still a little bit of the ground's been impacted because of how many times we walked over it.
Mhm.
Although we're still on this new path, there's still this old path in place, which we have to be mindful of and we have to be completely aware of, because it's so easy sometimes to fall short and to fall back onto that other path. So, for example, a guy that gets mad at his wife and he might raise his voice, "Arr!" and he gets grumpy, and they have a wonderful conversation. I said, "Honey, I love you." They do some nonviolent communication. They say, "Baby, I love you. What I observe you doing is getting really angry and raising your voice you when you get upset. And what I'm requesting, or what my needs are, I feel myself really getting feeling low, and what my needs are is just maybe for more communication and to have a better, smoother conversation. So my request is we do that." And sometimes the guy agrees to it, the woman agrees to it, and something triggers, bang. The trigger response is a powerful thing. So people go back into that, they fall back on that other path. He might go for a second, catch himself, realize he did it, but that path is still there. And I think um, that we need to all recognize that, because even in the realm of like transformation and criminal justice reform, and it's important to remember there's still a path there. So we need to be guided with love and support and mentorship and somebody to hold our butts accountable when
Mhm.
we're falling short. Steel sharpens steel, right?
Yeah.
So redemption, it's not about, again, not about erasing the past. It's about transforming it. And what I would say, what I would invite everyone to do is embrace your own stories of suffering and redemption. Really embrace those stories. They're powerful. And that's what you're doing, Hara. You're giving people that space. You're giving me a space to embrace my story of suffering and redemption.
Mhm.
By embracing the wounds that have shaped you and allowed them to become the source. So by me embracing my wounds and being vulnerable to each and every one of you. I like what Ram Dass said. He said, we're all God in drag, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing we have to hide from one another.
Right.
So by me, like really opening up and being vulnerable, I'll answer anything. I have nothing to hide from anybody on this call. By me coming forward and sharing my experience with you and sharing my heart with you, it really gives me a space, and that's my strength. And yeah, I would really just say, like, we we the human race, we really need to start all walking this path together. That's why I think your podcast is so important. What you're doing is you're giving a space for people to hear these conversations,
Mhm.
to take what they need and leave the rest.
Right.
But what we're doing is we're shedding the shackles of our past, and we're embracing the transformative power of redemption and collective consciousness. And Maya Angelou, I'm sure everybody knows who Maya is. She says, you may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated.
Mhm.
So as many times as we fall back on that other path, as many times as that, we fall short, we can't allow that to defeat us. We have to stay the course. And
Yeah.
it is people that we love and care about, when they're not measuring up to what our expectations are of them, we have to remember that they're human too.
Right.
And I really believe if we can all hold on to that, in the belief that redemption is possible, if we can all hold on to the belief that redemption is possible, that our suffering can be the catalyst for our greatest triumphs.
Right.
So I really
Beautiful.
believe it. Yes. I say, may we find solace in the journey of redemption, and may we all emerge as resilient compassionate beings inspiring others to embark on their own paths of healing. May the stories we share with one another, may the narratives we share with one another today serve as beacons of hope, inspiration, and light for others that remind us, even in our darkest moments, redemption is within us. So redemption isn't out there. It's not in love. It's not in a pack of smokes. It's not in a bottle of Jameson's. It's not in a bag of herbs, a CBD oil, whatever the heck people are doing out there. Redemption is within us, and together we can create a world where suffering is actually transformed into strength. And redemption becomes our collective anthem.
Um, I You just made me think of this. That one time, I would say about almost a decade ago, I was listening to Liz Gilbert. She had a podcast called Big Magic, and one of the people she was talking to was saying that she's an artist, but she's not can't get into the college she wants to or the institute she wants to. And Liz Gilbert was saying, you don't need somebody to tell you you're an artist. Make your own degree. And I was struggling with feeling of worthiness at the time.
Hmm.
And I designed my own plaque that said, "You are worthy." And I, hung it up in my living room, and I declared myself worthy because nobody else is going to do it. And that, um, I think it's a really important reminder that it comes from within. Nobody has to declare it to you. You just declare it.
That's that, yeah. I have to declare that, right?
Yeah, I didn't know I was worthy inherently,
Hmm.
but now I see that everybody is. And that was a real light bulb moment when I didn't have to do anything or be anything or say anything or whatever I thought was the requirements. That I am just worthy because I have this one wild and precious life, and here I am just
That's
because I'm
beautiful.
me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Then it becomes, how do we help others make their plaque?
Yeah.
How do we help others? How do we inspire and show others that? Because man, people are suffering out there. They really, really are. And a lot of people, I just want to raise my hand and say, I'm still somebody that suffers real deeply
Mm-hmm.
at times. I really do. I
Mm-hmm.
go through my moments, and
Me
I'm
too.
realizing more and more those moments are the most beautiful moments. That challenge, yeah, that comes up is where my work is. That's where I really have to sit back and relax and say, why did it create that reaction with me?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I feeling this way? What is it that I really need, or what is it that's really being triggered? Um,
Yeah.
and I think if we could all learn to do that, and we can all do a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I think I know something, I have
I'm
to
in,
have,
I'm really inspired, Hara, by your show. I'm inspired
oh,
uh
thanks.
by what it is that you're doing. I'm inspired by the voice that you're giving people, and I'm inspired by your audience.
Thank you. Well, I'm so inspired by you, and thank you so much for sharing your story and being vulnerable and helping others learn, because
Mhm.
it's all just a lesson. We're just all on this. We're all learning. We're all walking each other home, right?
We are all that's hey, that's beautiful. We're all walking each other and we're all walking each other home. I'm working with a yoga instructor right now. I'm out of Cleveland, Ohio. She's a renowned she's been around for a long time, a lot of really beautiful connections in the field of yoga. And we're working on a workshop called Prison or Ashram. So the idea is every single person, everybody on the planet, whether you're physically incarcerated, or you're mentally incarcerated. What I mean by mental incarceration is those moments of suffering, those moments of pain, those moments of attachment. Things come up in our lives that we crawl up in our heads and we really freaking suffer. That's why Big Pharma is doing so well, selling antidepressants out there.
Mhm.
They'll tell you that, there's something wrong with you, you need something to get better. Essentially, we all have been in mental prisons at one point or another. And there's a lot of tools we've been given from source, from God, from universe, from Mother Earth, from Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Odin, whatever it is that, let's just say universe. So there's a lot of tools that we all have. And I think coming back together and just reminding each other of those tools is really important.
Mhm.
It's so, I think part of the human condition is suffer. Part of the human condition, though, is to want to heal and want to feel better. Um, Hugs, like a hug, for example. That's why we give hugs to each other.
Mhm.
It's that release of oxytocin, it's the release of dopamine, serotonin in the brain. It's the feeling of secure attachment that we get. It's the feeling of love, of being loved. I think all of us, and they say, I don't remember who said this. Maybe you know this, and maybe somebody in the audience does, but God is love. So if God is love, think about that. God equals love, love equals God. Then you have to break that down. What is love? And I heard this a long time ago, and it's something that I've stuck with. It stuck with me, and I don't know who the author of this is. It's not mine, but and I want to honor somebody whoever came up with this. They said, love is the extension of oneself for the spiritual development of oneself and another.
Mhm.
So that could really apply to relationship as well. If we're in relationship, we don't just get in a relationship. I mean, unless you're just in the relationship because you want to, it's like a hedonistic thing. You just want to feel good by making love all the time. I'm sure people do that. I think I've probably done that in the past, without any attachment to any emotionality at all. But
Mhm.
I think even if you get into a relationship with somebody, love is the extension of oneself for the spiritual growth or development of oneself and another. So we work through our traumas, we become best friends, we start healing those things that come up, we face, we work through, and that's where our healing comes from.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I love that. I think if so, imagine that, like the prison system, to come back to where I am. Imagine if you, well, how many people listen to your podcast?
Oh God.
100,000,
Yeah.
two
I mean,
hundred thousand.
no,
We have hundreds of thousands of people on this
no,
podcast.
no. But one day, maybe. Who knows?
Well, we're going to get there after our meeting today and a few more of our meetings where we dive deeper into these topics. We'll get hundreds of thousands of people. We'll get this thing marketed and let people know what love is.
Yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful.
so I believe, imagine if everybody, there's 2.3 million people incarcerated. How many people are in the United States, do you know?
No, I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Um,
I
I
have
don't
an
know.
internet though, but
Well,
doesn't matter.
let's just say there's a lot of people in the United States.
Yes.
Let's just say if everybody in the United States just wrote a letter of kindness to
Mm,
somebody in prison saying, hey, you're not alone.
mm,
Um, for me, I think one of those defining moments that really helped, I came into prison, I got sentenced to 43 years. It was probably after my friend losing his life and then being sentenced to 43 years. The combination of those two things was a lot, a lot to cope and a lot to deal with. I mean, I had a really difficult time, after sobering up. which took a while, to be completely honest with you. But
Mhm.
after sobering up and after really absorbing what I had done and what had taken place and what I didn't do and the way that I responded, the way I reacted, um, it was just a lot. It was a lot of guilt and a lot of shame and a lot in my life. And then getting sentenced to a term of 43 years for a case where I was defending myself in my home,
Mhm.
it really, it was really a gut shot many different ways. It was devastating. So I had the weight of somebody losing their life in my consciousness. Now I'm being sentenced to 43 years. 43 years. I was 28 years old at the time. I was still a kid. I really was still a kid in many different ways. Um, I think that defining moment for me was Rob's mom sending me a letter. In that letter, the letter saying that she wanted to talk to me. She forgave me. She knew that there was more to the story than what was presented. And then her coming up to the prison to set a cross for me and, holding my hands, looking in my eyes and saying, I forgive you.
Mhm.
I think that was really one of those moments that it just told me that I have to, I really have to dig my heels in deep here. Each and every day, I have to do some work. And I think that's still the driving force that um, helps me today, and it then meeting a lady named Candace Powell who brought the hospice program here into the prison and then caring for men that were at end of life.
Mhm.
That was a game changer for me. Caring for men, holding their hands as they took their last breath and just seeing the peace and the really being able to be present for another human being.
Yeah.
Those are the things I really believe that have kept me here and kept me moving forward with an ambition and a goal. I have guys here like, why are you wasting your time in school? You're not going to be getting out for, why they've been asking me this question for the past, I've been at school, I think for 13 years now, 12 or 13 years. And they keep saying, why are you wasting your time there? And I'm like, I'm not wasting my time. I'm learning a great deal and I want to help my community here. And I've always felt like lately it's been more like I've been more of an introvert because of some things that have happened, but I'm still doing classes and teaching classes. I feel like with like you had talked about, and we had talked about that lived experience of incarceration, the lived experience of being in this situation. If I can get letters after my name, if I can get my doctorate and really dive deep, do a deep dive into the incarceral system and modalities and ways to help heal, then first off, that's going to provide me a space to really be heard. People take you more serious with letters after your name in some cases. But also, my hope and goal is when the tide comes in, it's not just one boat that goes up with the tide. All the boats rise with the tide. And that's really my hope. It's to provide a space and inspiration for other folks that are incarcerated to believe in themselves, to forgive themselves, and to move forward with grace. At the same time, exactly what you're doing and what we're doing here today is like providing information and providing our narrative. So the broader society says, holy Moses here. This stuff is really going on inside prisons and people in prisons are really doing like good work.
Yeah.
And that's what I would encourage everybody on this call to do is come to an awakening exchange. These exchanges now are worldwide. We're getting ready to turn this into a nonprofit organization. We are working now to get an exchange for family members of incarcerated people, those that have been impacted by prison. We're working on a women's group. I mean, I really love and honor women. I love women. I really do. And I think women, Mother Earth, I think if we really step back for a minute, women can be our biggest teachers. Mothers can be our biggest teachers. Um, and I really want to provide a space for women to come together because women deal with a lot, especially women that were incarcerated. There's a lot of travesties that have happened, a lot of abuses.
Mhm.
Um, Women that have been separated from their kiddos. That's freaking,
Yeah.
can you, and I just want to provide more of a space for healing and for love. So everybody that's listening to this today, you are invited to our next awakening exchange. You can register at if
I'll
you,
have to put it in the notes only because this isn't going to
that's
air
okay.
for a little bit. So
No, that's okay.
we'll do the URL for sure, but it's not going to air for a little bit. So the next one
No problem.
won't make sense. But
No problem.
I wonder if you would want to. Have you seen the magazine? My
Your
magazine?
magazine? No, I didn't know
Well,
you had a magazine. Is there
okay.
a copy online?
Yeah. If you go to beneathyourbeautiful.org, um,
Beneathyourbeautiful.org.
yeah.
Is that the name of your website? Beneath Your Beautiful?
Yeah, that's the name of the podcast and the magazine. Because I think it's not about what you look like, it's not about what you've done.
Wow, okay.
Your soul is beautiful.
That's right.
You
Wow.
know, I want to, the song by Labyrinth is I want to tear down your walls and see inside.
Ooh,
Yeah. So that's why I chose that title. Um, the magazine. I wonder if you'd like to write a story or if you would not want to write, but I could take some of this content from the podcast and make a story from it. I've done that before. But I think you might want to write something even about the exchange or whatever. I'd be happy to do a whole story on it.
I'd love to. It'd be great. Yeah,
So look through
that'd
the
be great.
magazine, and I think you'll see that it fits perfectly, what I'm
That,
trying to do.
that'd be great. Yeah, I actually have seen your website.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
being a little foolish.
That's okay.
I love you. What happens is I get so busy with
Yeah, yeah, for
things,
sure.
but I have, you know why I know it? Because the kid with the Captain America suit had
Oh,
me
yeah. I
rolling.
took that photo. I love
That is
that.
such a good photo. Such a great, is that your,
Oh, he was
he,
so
re-
great. He totally was not pretending. He was totally Captain America. That's my favorite photo. I love that kid.
oh my goodness, you're doing some good work.
Oh,
Um,
thanks.
how can I support you?
Hmm. By sharing beneathyourbeautiful.org really is at the moment how I know how to do it. I just want the word out.
I'd love to help you get your word out. I see you have a mission on here, right? Your mission statement, mission committed to spreading positivity, hope, improving the lives through raw and compassion. So where you and I are in line,
Yeah, for sure.
I believe like sharing our narratives is where,
Yeah, I totally think so.
wow, yeah, I really believe that and you have a nice approach to this. You have a very soft, gentle voice. Your experience, you sharing that with me, it makes me trust you more. It creates more psychological safety. Um, I'm just curious if there's a way that
Well, I'll definitely give it some thought. And if there's anything I can do as well, I totally want to promote and
Krista Bremer, I think you would really, it'd be really beneficial for you to do a podcast with her.
okay. Would you make a connection for it for me?
I would love to. She's a author. She's written several books. She's married to a man who is Muslim, and she's a Valley girl from California.
Hmm.
She has been helping with the Awakening Exchange. She is you you both have like the same like beautiful energy that you radiate. So I
Thank you.
can see like you really vibing with her on a show in The Awakening because she's got a really cool perspective of The Awakening too.
Okay, yeah. Connect
Um,
us if you don't mind.
I'd love to I would really, really love to connect you. And there might be a couple other folks too that I think would really be, I don't know how deep down this hole of prison reform stuff you want to go. And
Yeah.
I feel a little awkward because I feel like we jumped onto a bunch of different topics.
Oh, I truly believe it went where it's supposed to go.
Okay,
We
okay.
talked when we were supposed to talk. I have no doubt that it
Hmm.
the world, it's happening when it should. So, and
How do you know Billy?
I met him once at an Archangel event. So I'm in Idaho actually, and I think he lives in Toronto, right?
He lives in Toronto,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that we know each other is amazing. But I went to an Archangel event and met him there. And I just liked him and friended him on Facebook. And then I saw a short little post about you and I asked him to introduce us
Hmm.
because I thought and I was right that we would make a good connection.
That's beautiful, yeah. What I'm really striving for, Hara, I don't know if this can be of help or not, but I'm striving to for my PhD. Maine is one of the first states that just allowed residents to be able to work from prison, so I can have a job.
Mm.
The challenge is I am really like my mind and my heart are like into this exchange because I see the good. Have you attended one? Did you come
No,
in?
mm-mm.
I can't believe you, girlfriend. I thought you were gonna come in and join us the
I
other
just
week.
did some
I'm so
research
ups
today. I just know
I'm
about it today.
I'm so upset right now. No. Um, well, we
Hear
have another
ya.
one coming up with Meg Hogan. She
Okay.
runs the Red Tent Project in Florida with
Okay.
Barbara, who's a family therapist, and that will be in June. You can get onto Sutra. Have you registered on Sutra yet?
Mm-mm.
I'd like to put a link to your show. I'm going to put a link to your stuff in Sutra. I think that would be really cool.
Awesome.
Let me give you that link in the
In the chat.
uh-huh. Yeah, and you're easy to talk to. You're like a
I think so
somebody I've
too.
known for years, you know?
Yeah. I said recently on Facebook, if you don't love me, I think you don't know me well enough.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I just don't think you know me well enough. That's why.
Well, you
Bold.
either you have to be really sweet and innocent to make a state really
No,
bold or really
yeah, I'm
ballsy.
not sweet or innocent. I just think I'm my heart's in the right spot. And so if you know me, you would know that. I don't I
Well, I
of
can
course
feel
like I
it.
said, all the I make many mistakes and I keep making them over and over. So I totally get that as well.
Jeez Louise.
I
Me too.
know. Every time I think I learned something, God's really clever in giving me the lesson one more time.
If you're
Okay, I just did
interested,
it.
I don't know if people are going to be interested in this show, but what I'd be interested in, if people are interested in prison, I'd be interested in doing more of these with you. We could talk about certain topics. I think that would be really cool.
Sure.
Um, my hope is my victim's mom right now, she's working and trying to get me pardoned.
Do you
In my
think
case,
do you think she would talk to me?
hmm
That would be fascinating.
I I can talk
You
to
could
her.
just ask her.
She's a little bit reluctant for a lot of things, but it seems like you're she's got a lot. I just want to let you know how she operates. She has a lot of thoughts, so there's a lot coming out.
Hmm.
But she's very grounded, she's very intelligent, she's very kind, she's got a heart of gold, and I can ask her if she'd talk to you. I know she had a opportunity to talk to somebody else before and she didn't do it.
Well, it would be no problem. But do you have a way where I upload this to Dropbox and then you can have the YouTube? I mean, this video, or do you need me to like put it onto a link like on YouTube? Because I only share the audio. I edit very carefully, and so. But I'm happy to share this with you if that would help you share it with her so she could see who I am.
that would be great if you could do maybe a YouTube video
Sure,
and you just
sure. I'll do
send
it
it.
private. Yeah.
Send it to me. Give me a few days. That way, if you want to take it down, yeah,
Oh,
all you can
it's
do.
not, it's okay. I think I can just do a private
You
link.
can't. You can't do a private one because I
Oh,
have
you
to
can't.
sign in for that,
Oh,
right?
okay. Okay. I don't know, but it's okay if it's up there. It's just that I won't promote it.
Can you down? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
a friend of mine from
okay.
Sweden, he took a video recently and sent me a thing and it said you cannot access with our YouTubes. They have it blocked where we can't log into our YouTube.
Okay. So it has to be a public one, but you can go to YouTube.
I can go to YouTube and get it. It would be
Okay.
nice to have it too, and
Yeah.
I could put a couple edits in and put it on our our Sutra site.
Sure. That'd be great. I wouldn't
Yeah,
mind that.
thank you.
Yeah, I will be happy to do that and think about the magazine. And if you do want to do the magazine, the next issue is July, which
Hmm.
means June 5th would be the deadline. That's kind of quick, but you can just, and it could be the 5th of every month is the deadline for the month, the coming month. So just
Hmm.
whenever you get to that, I would love to share your story visually as well.
Thank you. How many people subscribe to the magazine?
Well, I've only, the June issue is the ninth issue. And so it's free online. So there's no subscription and it's
Hmm.
print on demand. And so I'm
Hmm.
also I'm working with somebody right now to figure out how to make this profitable because right now it is the opposite of profitable,
Okay.
but it's free online. And so anybody can access it with beneathyourbeautiful.org.
Are you saying just the magazine is not profitable or the whole organization right now is not profitable?
Yeah, no, I'm not making a penny. I'm paying money to do this.
So you so you this is my understanding. You have to get sponsors.
I need sponsors or I need really aligned partnerships.
Uh-huh.
I mean, obviously, it's really important to me that it's somebody that's really aligned. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I need, but sponsorships or partnerships is where I
Yes.
think is the answer to.
Do you have a big organization? You said Idaho you're in?
Yeah, I'm in Idaho.
Um,
I'm
is
from
there a big
Florida,
we're from Florida.
Miami,
Oh, really?
North Miami Beach, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
What the heck did you move to Idaho for?
I know. My first husband wanted four seasons, mountains, and hunting, and here I am. And
Oh
he's
my
back on the East
good
Coast.
good God. Um, I think one of the greatest things that you could do is because you have a really cool established podcast in line. You have a really nice web page. So this is just a thought for you is if there's an organization, a local organization around, you could stop in for them. And even like if it's Keller Williams,
Mm,
um, if it's Merrill Lynch, if it's whoever,
yeah.
and you ask for sponsorship for them, whether it's like $5,000 or whatever, and then what you'll do at every call, you'll just say sponsored by Merrill Lynch, somewhere in the
Yeah.
uh, but the other thing I think a really good idea is if there's an organization around that has like a really powerful message that they're very profitable. One thing that you could do, I've never heard of anybody doing this, is you could go in and introduce yourself and you could say, I run a podcast. What I'd like to do is I would like to, if you would be interested in a sponsorship package of 30,000, what I would be interested in doing is doing a podcast a month about from one of your employees about what
Mm,
it means to work in this organization.
mm.
And
Oh, that's a really good idea because somebody was just saying they were offered a lot of money from Goldman Sachs to do something about influential women.
that's what
Yeah,
exactly.
that's really okay.
Find a niche exactly with diversity. I think with diversity being at the forefront of so many people's minds, people need to have diversity out there. So if even if you did something on diversity, like I'd
Right.
like to interview like 12 people from your organization, you just give me their names. They can be anywhere because I do this remotely, but how you're practicing diversity. And through your
So
sponsorship,
good.
what we're gonna do is I have an audience base of let's say 10,000 people. I don't
Hmm.
know. but we have about 10,000 people that are listening to the call right now. You, with a $30,000 sponsorship, I'll give you 12. Not only will I mention your company's name in all my podcasts, but I will do, let's say, 6 episodes.
Yeah.
For 12 episodes, maybe it's a $50,000 package or something.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
And you on Canva?
No, because I'm a designer.
All right, well,
I've
design
designed everything. I did the whole website and my logo and all that.
freaking beautiful. Design some dope. I would
Yeah.
design just like a pack, your podcast up top and 3 bubbles.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd necessarily put the price on there, but maybe I would. I'm thinking of exchange approach. They charge $120,000 to do a workshop. That's
Yeah.
for 3 days. So I really believe companies have to pay so much they have so much money set aside for diversity training too.
Right. Right.
So
And
everybody wants to be seen as like really diverse right now in today's world and today's climate.
yeah, we've been talking about that because I feel like my magazine already is covering that. Like, I totally about, like, especially this June issue, there was, somebody a man who likes to dress in women's clothing. And the issue before, there was a man who's involved in the NAACP here. I just very, obviously I care about each person. Like I'm practicing that. So I think that would be really great to think that's a great angle. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I just graduated with my master's for coaching. If you need any help, I'd be happy to help you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Sincerely, it'd be nice to see you flourish and do well, but you got to be, I know, and there's so many people podcasting out there right now.
I
It's
know.
just like you got to find a niche, something cool that really works for you and just roll with it. And I think the sponsorship idea is dope because
Yeah.
these companies are spending millions of dollars on nothing already.
Right.
How great would it be to spend like, okay, well, first of all, I'll sponsor you, but then you're going to put my organization out there as being like a really diverse
Right. That's just what we were discussing.
gender.
That's so good. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Because
Yeah.
we were
And
talking, we were like thinking about companies that have the same mission, like Tom's Shoes, for instance. Even on their base or their website, they are saying that they're talking all about diversity. And we're like, how can we approach Tom's Shoes to like,
Starbucks too.
oh yeah, yeah. Even Sephora has a mission similar. Everybody, of course, says they do, but anyway. So that's
Mhm.
great. Okay, well, I know you have to go soon. I have your link. Thank you, and I will email you. No, you email me. Oh, I'll email you the YouTube link, and in the mean, I'll just need for this podcast, which won't air for a month at least. Your a photo of you.
A photo. Yep.
Hmm.
We can do that. I'll send you a
Okay,
couple and you can choose which one you want.
perfect, awesome. Well, it was just such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
pleasure talking to you. Thank you for sharing space with me. You have a really beautiful story and thank you for your heart. Can tell
Thank
you
you.
have a good,
Same.
good heart.
Oh, thank you. That's what I'm saying, right? That's why you should love
That's
me.
that's what you were saying.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Be
Bye.
well, my friend.
You too. Bye.